I know what you're thinking.
Can I beat this woman?
You know, it's been a long time since I made a video.
So that was a f***ing lie.
And I gotta be honest, I've just been busy with things that I just can't tell you because it's just a bunch of boring life stuff.
Fuck.
But I also got addicted to playing Elden Ring again. And obviously it's because of the DLC. But because of that, I've been trapped in the Fromsoft rabbit hole, watching too many lore videos and speedrunners beating the game in ridiculous ways. It's been pretty fun, and also kind of painful to my boomer eyeballs. They just aren't the same anymore. Every Elden Ring session I end up with some serious scarlet rot in my eyes. And now I know how Millennia, Blade of Miquella, feels. Anyway, the point is, I want to make an Elden Ring video, so we're checking out the official manga for Elden Ring, The Road to the Erdtree. Now, there is also a webtoon that takes the story way too seriously, that even the tarnished main character doesn't even talk. Also, this Tarnish is a speedrunner, because how did he go from killing Margit to killing Morgoth in one chapter? But then again, this is Elden Ring. You're not here for serious lore, otherwise you'd be overanalyzing the light novel. You're here for ridiculous post builds and which NPC has the best feat. Which is why Fromsoft hired Nikita Tobita of How I Stalked Some Dude with an Exposed Nipple and Stumbled Upon the Zenithian Sword to help draw the true story of Elden Ring, just like how Miyazaki and George R.R. Martin would have wanted. As a gag manga. This is Elden Ring, The Road to the Erdtree, and we will explore together up to the end of the Liurnia arc. So check it out if you're still maidenless. Otherwise, subscribe and like the video, and maybe a little finger maiden will come out of nowhere and sell you an accord. So, the manga starts off with the familiar intro like the game. We're introduced to all of Marika's demigod offsprings that participated in the Shattering. And one thing moving forward, I won't provide detailed exposition to certain topics, like the Shattering. I'm just going to assume you watched Vati's video that explained the finer details because this video will be too long, and I want to focus more on the actual story of the manga. All you need to know is that Rykard is a lot more handsome than you remember. Along with the demigods, we get introduced to the key tarnished, like the all-brilliant Gold Mask, the loathsome Dung Eater, and Fia, the deathbed companion who stands tall because we respect necro sex workers in the lands between. These characters in-game have quest lines that will change the ending, which basically just changes the color of the sky. You know, like that horrible Mass Effect 3 Elusive of Choice ending. Except this one is better because of the lore. Okay, who am I kidding? These endings are a bit disappointing. Good thing we have the Frenzy Flame and Rani. But after that, we are introduced to Torrent and I mean Melina, who find our wretched Tarnish cheeked up with a message next to him that says, "Try finger but hole." This is our main character, Aseo, who pretty much acts like a typical fish out of water isekai protagonist. But this isn't an isekai, so shut up. He pretty much comments on all the absurdities that happens in a Fromsoft game, where everything wants to kill you and answers the one question we've always had, which is where do you put the sacred flasks if you start off as a wretch? On your ass, like a normal person. Some key things to note while we're here: White Mask Vare still calls him maidenless and he reacts appropriately, Tree Sentinel's still an asshole, and we're introduced to Godric the Grafted, Lord of Stormveil Castle, who is characterized as a Gyaru girl that wants the latest, trendiest grafted items that he can add to his collection. He's a very nice guy, I'll bet a bit misunderstood. Why is he a Gyaru? I thought there was supposed to be a pun where Godric sounds like Gyaru, but maybe I'm just stupid. But Godric the Gyaru does sound like a fun time. Then I remember that in the actual lore, Godric used the Mimic Tear to escape Lane-Del as a woman. And now I understand the true reference. Very clever, Fromsoft, but I think more people would understand the vision if you had grafted him some giant tit. He orders Gatekeeper Gostic and his servants to bring the next Tarnish they find alive to him so that they can all graft something amazing together. So really, he's not too different from his video game counterpart. Another important detail of Aseo is that he has no memory of anything, but he is a cat person in a world where everything is called a dog. So naturally, he will face discrimination. But luckily, he can see the guidance of grace, so Melina is willing to be his maiden, so she can turn her rune fragments into strength, and also to provide exposition to him and us. Because let's be honest, unless you have a degree in reading comprehension, nobody knew the actual plot of this game. So they hold hands and he levels up. But Melina decides he's gonna be an intelligence build because he's an idiot. So a gag manga can only be good if it's funny, and luckily it's a pretty funny manga. However, you do need to have played the game to get some of the jokes, like Vari being a gardener because blood is a good fertilizer for plants. But it's still an accessible manga for any newbies to this world, especially if you like slapstick.
Oh shit, fuck, I fucked up. Oh god.
So before we continue on, let's talk about Nikicha Tobita, where his claim to fame is a Dragon Quest V doujinshi called Something Something Nipple. This feels pretty similar to that Pokemon manga artist where they gave some perverted newbie the chance of a lifetime. But good for him, as he takes full advantage of this opportunity. His art style also kinda fits. Like, I feel like his style draws inspiration from American graphic novels, while still including the anime eyes. It feels appropriate for Elden Ring, and it could lead to some nice reaction faces, especially from Patches. Oh yeah, Patches is also here, but Caelid is here too, and he's still a bro. But most importantly, Blade is here, who is the best boy. Who's a good boy? He's a bit of a himbo, strong, but very dumb. Also, he might have a parasocial obsession with Rani, which is surprisingly in character, but at least he's not a freak like Darrowell, who dresses his Rani dolls as Marisa from Toho. Anyway, Melina bonks Darrowell like Kendrick Lamar did to Drake when he found out about his taste in girls. Although lore-breaking for the serious types, it is cool to get an explanation as to why Darrowell betrayed Rani and ended up in the Everjail.
That just raises further questions!
And don't worry, the story may be scuffed, but there are some lore implications that do explain some in-character actions, and it can range from, oh, that's a cool interpretation, to, oh, that's actually kinda sad. Next, we meet the life-size Rena, the witch, obviously, who I think is characterized as a chunibyu, with a dash of tsundere spice. Basically, she's pretty cute when she's flustered, but I think she'd be cute in a man. Hopefully, by chapter 7, you're having a good time following the silly adventures of Aseo dicking around in Limgrave, because now it's time to go back to the plot, which is Roderica, who is just as cute as I remember. Oh my god! Alright, now we're introduced to Margaret, the full walkthrough. I wonder what silly personality is he gonna have? Oh no, he's a boomer! Well, the best way to beat a boomer is to just let them yap and give you unsolicited advice and be on your way. They'll be dead soon enough. Well, before they destroy the Golden Order economy and ruin the housing market for the generations to come after. At least Aseo finally has some drip. Now, let's invade the castle. We're gonna skip ahead a bit as these chapters are pretty funny, and I feel like it's better if you rate the manga yourself. So on chapter 10, we are introduced to Nefeli Lu, warrior. She's what the kids would call a muscle mommy. But also, this is the first time we see Aseo actually fight and use his high intelligence to defeat a grafted scion child. Will the fighting continue? Of course not. This is Elden Ring. We don't solve our problems with violence, but with a friendly grafting competition between Godric himself. So what I do like about this manga is that even though it is a silly interpretation based on the item descriptions of the game, there are still moments of genuine characterization, like Godric getting his shit pushed in by Millennia, Blade of Mikola. Of course, once Godric loses, we do get a proper phase 2, with Godric's iconic moment from the game, only to lose again because, you know, grafting a dragon head isn't the most original idea. Godric is a pathetic sort, and all he needed was some encouragement from his followers. And just like a CEO, he's gonna make some serious changes around Stormveil, like working his minions even harder without raises. What a wholesome end to the Stormveil arc, as more people die.
Oh my god, can you just... How the fuck did she get on? What?
But at least we get his great rune. Now we can continue our journey. Aseo ends up in the Round Table Hold, where we meet Gideon Ofnir of the all-knowing of how to be a bitch, and the Two Fingers. We get more exposition as ripped from the games. Anyways, to summarize our objective for the illiterates like me, We just need to collect more great runes from the demigods so that we can become Elden Lord. Oh, and also bring Melina to the Erdtree, even though she can just walk there herself. I don't know why she's really following us. In-game, I just assumed she was a spirit, but in the manga, she seems like a real person that can actually interact with the world. Okay, that's a lot of exposition that happened in this chapter, so we will need some fan service to decompress. Luckily, Fia, the deathbed companion, is here to give the boys what they really want. God, I wish that was me. Of course, this manga wouldn't be a manga without a training arc, so we meet Roderica again and Knight Bernal, who is obsessed with teaching us the weapon arts, known as the Ash of War. Here we learn that Aseo is actually an advanced Fromsoft player who knows the skill Hop Swap from his Dark Souls PvP days. After that, we finally get to Alexander, who surprisingly fits the vibes of this manga. It's almost one-to-one, except for when Melina pulls out a giant great star from, well, you know, her dog. And using the power of leverage, Alexander is freed, and he tells us about Caelid and the Radon Festival. And so we go off to adventure in Caelid. We shouldn't be in Caelid. Luckily, Ronnie conveniently shows up to lead us to an area more appropriate for our level, and to finally give us pants. 18 chapters, huh? Our arcane must not be very high. Now, before we continue, I wanted to make note that so far we've been following the game's storyline via NPC story quests, word for word, and it's been rather silly so far. But eventually, at the end of those quests, bad things usually happen. So I wonder if the manga will end up having a tone shift and become more serious/dark, or will it stay silly towards the end? I'm genuinely curious, but that probably won't happen unless the manga stays serialized. Wouldn't be the first time a story in the manga starts off wholesome and gets really dark by the end. I just don't want Dobbs to die, okay? He's a pretty good guy, even if he does traffic women in Romania. But do you know who does traffic women? The best gamer girl, Raya. Oh, and Patches is here too. We get a lot of Patches, which is good, because out of all the NPCs, he's the most likely to have quite a character arc. I don't know what kind of arc that would be, but I'm investing in Patches coin. As Aseo journeys towards Liurnia, he discovers the worst enemy in the entire game, a giant crayfish. God, I fucking hate these things. Good thing Blackguard Bogart is here to kill and eat it. Once again, just like in the game, Bogart is a sweetheart who just likes the finer things in life. I'm sure nothing bad will happen to him. Oh crap, I forgot we have an actual plot. So Patches pays Bogart to get Raya's necklaces back, which is a nice change from the game. They're trying to make Patches seem like a good guy. Meanwhile, Ronnie told Aseo that there is a great room in Raya Lucaria, but no one can enter without a glintstone key. But luckily, Brother Patches has a plan. So Aseo, Raya, Patches, and Bogart go to get the key, but it's being guarded by a magic dragon. So what sort of silly shenanigans are gonna happen to deal with that dragon? Is Raya gonna find a donkey to seduce it? Fuck, America's tits, he actually just fights the dragon. Talk about subverting expectations, who would have saw that coming? So I wanted to highlight chapter 22, as this is probably one of the more original chapters of the manga. We get some character development for Patches, a recurring joke with Raya, and a dream with Bogart. Hopefully nobody puts his ambitions to rest. What a wholesome chapter. I really hope nothing bad happens to any of these characters, alright Miyazaki? Just keep making your poison swamps so you don't end up ruining even more NPCs' lives. Lanya. Oh no, not this quest line. Dialos is one of the most tragic characters in Elden Ring, and it all starts with him finding his tomboy friend. That could have been his girlfriend, if only he had the courage to ask her out before she went off to join Hogwarts, only to get ambushed by some recusants. Of course, this is still a gag manga that amplifies or flanderizes character traits, so Dialos, the second son of House Hoslo, is all talk and no action. But speaking of action, surprisingly, Aseo embodies the spirit of what it's like to go through the actual dungeon of Raya Lucaria. Aseo is right though. There's a surprisingly lack of sorcery in the campus of magic. Eventually, he ends up being teleported to the Church of Vows, and he meets the Dog Pope, notorious for being an exposition lore dump. But Melina doesn't want competition, so she monopolizes the exposition industry, much to the Dog Pope's dismay. We should probably get to Rennala, so let's skip past Ronnie. Huh? Now in the game, Radagon went to get some milk and never came back. So Rennala became so heartbroken she can't even speak. But luckily in the manga, she can speak. In fact, she speaks a lot. She's an overworked single mother with 50 magical kids, with Moongrum being the dad that stepped up. Also, Ronnie, maybe you should talk to your mom and tell her you're okay. It'll go a long way. This characterization for Rennala is really sweet, and I kinda like it. Now, just like Godric, we can't just fight Rennala. That would just be rude. So we're gonna have another friendly competition with Parry-God Moongrum. Don't worry, it's a duel this time, where Moongrum kicks Aseo's ass with his parry skills and carry in retaliation. But luckily, Aseo spent 10 runes to learn Thop's barrier that deflects all magic, and he didn't even have to die for it. It is hilarious that a gag manga does power creep better than a lot of shonen action series. Speaking of shonen, Aseo used Starlight as a solar flare to defeat Moongrum. Now I wish that was an actual ability in the game. All of those points going to intelligence is really paying off for Aseo. Anyway, time for the boss fight with Rennala, actually conscious Rennala, who overwhelms Aseo with her overpowered spells. But luckily, Aseo has something that the Tarnished in-game doesn't have. An actual voice to tell Rennala that Radagon is a deadbeat dad who cheated on her with Queen Marika. Ah, good old talk no jutsu. Yeah, unfortunately that didn't work. That just makes Rennala more angry. If only he showed more empathy and just be there to take care of the kids, like Moongrum. But those kids don't last that long as they need to be rebirthed. Turns out that Rennala's mind did get broken from Radagon's NTR, and Aseo, being a good guy, decides to leave Rennala alone to go after another great rune instead, Radagon's great rune. And that's where we will end the story for now. The manga continues to introduce us to more characters from the game that will hopefully advance their quest lines and end in a wholesome manner, while also expanding other characters whose dialogues may have been cut from the game. But honestly, this manga is pretty fun, even if you know nothing about the game. Of course, it borrows the dialogue word for word, but it characterizes it in a hilarious way. And not only that, it's filled with tons of Easter eggs, and sometimes additional lore. But I do have a feeling that it's gonna get dark, and when that happens, I'll return to it. But for now, I'll let you go off and just enjoy the wholesome adventures of Tarnished Aseo as he journeys to become, let me solo her, Elden Lord. And if you enjoyed your time and you like listening to my voice, why not subscribe so that when the next big video comes out months from now, you'll be here to experience it. Maybe I'll continue the Elden Ring manga, and we can experience the silliness that is the Radon. Oh God, they're all dead! Someone help them! Oh, and Oshinoko Season 2. I'm probably gonna do reactions to that. Oh, also the dog manga ended. I have to do a video to finish it. I just have to. I have no choice. It is me. God, I wish I had more time in this world. Anyway, I hope you have a good day. Okay, bye!
My God. Yes!
Extraordinary.
I thank you, Kristoff. And I will do a fancy spin for you. You clutched it. I could not have done this. This was all you. You are a god. You are a god.
Dear Mikola.
Now I can finally play the DLC.